In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups: the police who investigate crime and the district attorneys who prosecute the offenders. These are their stories.
All right. Order in this court, goddammit.
You don't get to call order. You're the one defending. That's like walking in and being arrested and going, all right, I'm in charge here. You're not in charge. Sit down.
Objection.
Sit down.
Your Honor, I'd like to say that you look great today, Your Honor. I'm sitting here completely.
I object.
My turn.
That's not going to help you. If anything, it's going to get you in contempt of court. Welcome, everybody. This is Screen Share and Chill, and in defense of Keith, for some reason, has decided we needed to watch Rise of Skywalker, and he's going to defend why it's a good movie. I wish him luck.
Technically, Your Honor, I will be defending why it's not the worst Star Wars movie and not as bad of a movie as people make it out to be. Not that it's technically a good movie. Just submit that to the record.
You can submit it if you want, but you have interjected and interrupted me, so you are now minus some points. Anyway, Rise of
That's
Skywalker.
not how court works.
There's a scoreboard in the back seat. Yeah, you don't see the scoreboard?
Yeah, the
Jesus
giant
Christ, man.
scoreboard.
Open your eyes. It's like a basketball scoreboard right there. How'd you miss it?
Anyway.
It's got a Coca-Cola sign on it.
Rise of Skywalker. Yes, we're going to talk about Rise of Skywalker. Keith is going to try to persuade us to say it's not a piece of trash Star Wars movie.
I will say for the record, what I'm proclaiming and what I am charging Star Wars Rise of Skywalker with is that it is a bad movie. I'm not arguing whether this movie in the Star Wars canon is better or worse. We're not getting into that ball of worms. It's either a good movie or a bad movie, and this movie is a bad movie. Those are the claims I'm making, and today in the courtroom, I will show beyond a shadow of a doubt with a body of evidence that Star Wars Rise of Skywalker is a bad movie.
And also for the record, I also think it's a bad movie if you couldn't figure that out yet. But not just a bad movie, it's a bad Star Wars movie. It's barely a Star Wars movie. But we'll get into that. Go ahead. Keith, what do you got? Opening arguments.
All right. I was, part of my defense is based around Kelly's proclamation that this is the worst Star Wars movie. So that's part of the angle that I'm going for, if you want to.
You didn't prepare for court properly, huh?
Clearly.
Sounds good for me.
So many charges have been leveled at my client, including it is a bad movie, that it is the worst Star Wars movie, and I feel I can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that both of those statements are untrue, and it's you know. It's not a great movie. I will give you that, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, but that's not the case that's being debated.
Take note of that. He admits it's not a good movie. Okay, continue.
So I've already won.
I said it's
Bravo.
not.
Thank you so much for coming.
I'm going to call the police.
And it's not a bad movie.
Those two statements contradict each other. I'm going to need you to try to rephrase that.
No, not being great and not being bad are different. I would ask for that to be overruled.
By who?
By you, Judge.
I guess. I'm disagreeing with that.
You overrule yourself, Judge.
All right, I don't like this format anymore.
Yeah, we were under the impression that I would be the one attacking it more, but we didn't take into account.
I didn't even attack
under
it.
The weather,
Yeah.
so.
I did not attack it. I attacked your verdict.
I moved to have the case thrown out because I have a hostile judge.
That's never worked for anybody before.
I have a crooked.
How was the judge hostile? She jumped over the bench and started strangling me.
I have a crooked Joe Biden judge. I would like to have her removed from the bench, please.
Oh, no politics. That's another point. I just saw your
I
scoreboard
have
go
a
down.
racist lawyer in my courtroom. He's calling me an angry black woman because I asked him to rephrase a sentence.
I seen him.
I'm going to need, in contempt of court, case has been thrown out. Rise of Skywalker is in the Bad Movie Hall of Fame.
I'm going to call the police. You go ahead, call them.
All right,
Whatever am I going to do with this body of evidence that I have ready to levy upon you?
Let's hear what you got.
Well, I mean, there's, like I said, I've got over like 60 points here that I can. I mean, I could just go.
What
one
is
by
what
one
is
if you
overall?
want,
Give me an overarching argument for why this is bad. What do you?
all right, I'm just going to go down right from the very beginning then, and starting right with the very beginning opening.
Is that your main argument? I don't need you to nitpick.
No, my main
it yet.
argument is a body of evidence. So when we're ready for the body, when you're ready for my body is ready, when you're all ready for my body, you let me know.
Why do you do this?
So you didn't even come with an opening argument. You just want to come.
I already gave you my opening argument. I gave mine first.
What was? It's just bad. That's what it is.
Would you like me to reiterate?
Yes, because I've asked you 3 times.
Okay, yeah. So, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker is a bad movie. Not only is it a bad Star Wars movie, it's just a bad movie. Through several examples and a body of evidence, I will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that it is a bad movie. That is my basic statement.
I'm going to agree with you.
This is
Oh, you already did. It feels like we just went through
the fucking kangaroo court if ever I've seen one.
You don't shut your Star Wars loving mouth. I was gonna throw it back to you. My statement. I agree with you as of now. I have my own points. I have my own reasons, but I am open to be persuaded. Do I think it'll happen? No, but I'll give you the chance.
Then let's just start with the opening scene. Like I said, the opening line that everybody likes to mock, the dead speak, I think that's fine. That's in line with Star Wars and the scrolling text and all that shit that's come before. That totally is fine. But I feel like we could throw this out immediately just on the fact that the broadcast that they're all talking, that the initial scroll is talking about, that the Emperor sent out to the galaxy, that sent the galaxy into shockwaves of everybody having shock, that huge dramatic moment, where did that happen, Kate? Do you remember where that broadcast happened?
I would like this piece of evidence to be stricken from the record, as it is a common occurrence for...
Your Honor, I object!
And why is that, Mr. Reed?
Because it's devastating to my case!
Overruled.
Good call!
Your Honor, I'd like to treat the witness as hostile.
Can I finish?
Because I have a rebuttal to this, so I want to hear his argument.
I would pose that Star Wars movies, since the very beginning, have had big events happen off screen and take place during the opening crawl, and I would like to submit to the court the opening crawl for episode 3.
Oh no, I'm not denying that the Star Wars can have something happen off screen.
Evidence here.
What I'm asking you a simple question: where did the broadcast get broadcast? It did get broadcast into popular media.
It is irrelevant.
Where did it get broadcast?
No, hold on. I'm reviewing this piece of evidence. But yes, I would like you to admit to the court where it was broadcast, sir.
Yes.
It was broadcast across the entire galaxy, as noted in the...
No. Where was it broadcast? The location of this revelation.
Your refusal to answer the question shows your guilt, sir.
Where did it come into existence?
It's not relevant to the movie. I don't understand why this is being...
It is. It's an event that happened in the movie that there is somewhere you can see it. You could see this event. Where could you see that event? When it happened live, where would you go to see the thing that they're talking about? The huge event that happened in the galaxy that shook the galaxy to its core. You can see it. Where can you see it?
As a cross-promotional...
Order in the court. As a cross-promotional stupidity... I can't... Okay, cross-promotional. It was aired in Fortnite. It was aired in Fortnite.
And what does that have to do?
Your evidence is a recap of some events that happened. The scroll in this movie introduces a character who we have not seen in a very long time. A very powerful, manipulative villain is brought back off screen, and not even just off screen, introduced in a fucking video game for children. No offense to people who play Fortnite. I play Fortnite. But let's face it, the aim of that game is for children. So,
it's for children to spend money.
Your whole argument about needing to strike this scroll from the record is episode 3 that just recaps things that happened. There's a kidnap or an attempted kidnap, however this phrase. I'm too mad to read it all.
You will also note, Your Honor, that I didn't even get to finish saying my evidence of what I was.
Yes, but you're trying to throw it out, and your rebuttal was this piece of evidence. So is there more, or should I continue?
Sure, yes, there is more. And again,
okay, then continue before I finish my argument on the scroll.
An extremely important character to the story that we have never even heard of yet is also introduced to this. But I still want to make the point that an audio broadcast from Fortnite has no bearing on the quality of the film. That's why I was asking for that.
You can say that, but it is a marked tactile. It is a choice they made to market this film and cross-platform it on something else that had no connection to this film, no connection to this company, and the choice was made to put it there just to try to promote it to children who are already going to go, promote it to the people who already liked it from back in the day. They're not playing Fortnite. It was literally there just to hide it, and someone thought it was cool. It made no sense. Having a major villain character return off screen, introduced in a scroll. Yes, they do introduce somebody else, but it is that's irrelevant. That is you can introduce a new character. You don't bring back your main villain who has supposedly been pulling strings this entire fucking end trilogy for this entire saga off screen in something completely unrelated, and you have laid no groundwork for this. He is not mentioned. There is no hint that this character, that anyone is pulling strings. There's nothing connecting him to the other two movies. They just went, who can we throw in here? And this is what they did.
I would also
I will not strike that from the record.
And see me as you're trying to throw out my point, and I'll tell you why I'm adding this point, where you're saying that something that happens off screen shouldn't affect the score of the movie. I understand what you're saying. However, I said from the beginning that I'm building a body of evidence. The reason for that is, if I were to point at individual points of this movie, you could easily try to wish it away with headcanon, or try to say, oh, well, that one singular point isn't enough to make this movie bad. But when I get up towards of like 60 plus, 70 times where shit like this happens in the movie, that's what I'm building for. So you can look at this and say, this point alone is not reason enough to call this movie bad. And you're absolutely right. But this, plus the other 75 reasons, might give you an idea of why most people in the world consider this a bad movie.
Do the other 75 reasons actually occur within the movie and they're part of the movie?
So,
so this opening scroll doesn't happen in the movie?
No, the opening scroll.
Oh, my bad. I thought this was happening in the movie.
Hold on. So the point that Keith is trying to make is that it has no connection to Fortnite, so that shouldn't count. My point is, whether it is connected to Fortnite or not, and I think that's what Kelly's getting at, he's just trying to point out that they connected it to Fortnite. It is the way they open this movie. They chose to do this. They chose to bring him back off screen. They chose to not even have a hint of him in the other two movies. They made decisions off screen and just threw it into the movie. Not just randomly into the movie, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour in, to start it. To start this epic finale to this saga off, they just went, fuck it, do it off screen and add some type. Put some text in there and it's good enough.
I would say that the Chancellor of the Republic being kidnapped by a character we've never met or even heard of before is of the same level.
No.
Did it happen in Pac-Man? Did they show it in the Super Mario Brothers cartoon? Did they show it? Did they have it in a little toy that you got in your cereal in the morning? No, then it's not even close to being relevant. You're comparing apples and wrenches.
Is it discussed at all? Is any of this plot that they do in this other scroll you're talking about, is it discussed at all? Is it hinted at all? Is any of this kidnapping, any of the other stuff even brought up? Do we think this is something that would be out of character for what we are witnessed in this saga thus far? No. The whole point of the scroll is to recap and introduce us to the things we have missed while we were away.
Right.
You can't just
and it's fine because we're never going to convince you. We're never going to convince you. It's for the jury. This is for the ladies and gentlemen and non-binary friends of the jury. And so that's fine that you don't trust us. That's fine. The people that are listening to this comment, they understand. They hear it. They hear the fact that they marketed this movie and they gave you this limited edition Emperor's broadcast that shakes the entire Star Wars galaxy to the core. They put it on a fucking kid's video game, the same place that you will find like hip hop stars and Adele doing concerts and stuff like that. That's where the Emperor did his broadcast.
If I'm correct, you're describing an event happening off screen that's being recapped in the opening crawl, correct? Which the judge just told me was fine.
Yeah, oh yeah, the judge says it's fine to submit it to the court. And then when I look at the ladies and gentlemen and the non-binary friends of the court and I say, this is not good, they're going to agree with me. I know they will.
I'm saying it's fine if it is not a huge major plot point, if it is not the main villain of your story, if they were already introduced, if this is someone that has been there, has been hinted at, we know it's coming, we're just waiting for it to happen, and you just decided to throw it in the text to not have this huge chunk of time in your movie. Fine, sure, that could be a thing, but he is not mentioned, he is not hinted at. There's a man pulling the strings, there's a secret thing. You've heard this voice,
General
not
Grievous has not been mentioned before he appeared as a word in the opening crawl of episode 3. Nothing in this crawl had been previously hinted at.
Yes, but he is a completely new character. You have no idea who that person is. You are going to learn who that person is. It gives you intrigue to sit there and go, oh, who's General Grievous? Oh, he sounds bad. Oh, that's not good. You know exactly who Palpatine is. You know how powerful he is. You know how manipulative he is. And to have him come back off screen is mishandled and very, very miscalculated.
The points you just listed tell me that that's all the reason that you have to not have that before. You know how powerful he is, and you know how manipulative he is.
But
so,
we all know, ladies and gentlemen of the court, we all know that the reason why Palpatine came back is because J.J. Abrams wanted to completely take the story in a different direction than they did before. We all know that the groundwork wasn't laid in the first 2 movies of this trilogy, and it was on purpose that they did this complete different change. Like, it was to throw a wrench into the story that was laid in the last movie. And we all know it. You even admitted it outside this court, so don't pretend like you don't. Don't pretend like you don't!
I disagree.
You can disagree and be wrong. Next point.
I disagree with that.
Let me pull up my chat logs with you than many times we've argued about this before.
Keith, next point. What do you have? Because right now you're losing this battle.
Right, because I have a hostile judge and a hostile counsel against me.
Well, I'm supposed to be hostile against you. That's my job.
He can. I'm just rebuttaling. If you bring up a good point and I'm on your side, I will absolutely be there. But if you're bringing up a nonsense point and I have an argument,
Your Honor, I think you've actually been arguing with him more than I have so far.
Yeah,
because he's not listening to my words and trying to twist it to be like, well, actually, no, I said what I said.
I kind of feel like you make a point and then I make the same point for this, and then suddenly you say no. So let's just move along.
Yeah, let's move. Yeah, this is for the people of the court to decide. We're just making the arguments for them to decide who makes the better argument.
I already said move along, but sure.
The first thing that we see story-wise, aside from some pretentious action, is a MacGuffin. Immediately a MacGuffin. Sure, and I look back at the original trilogy, for example, and I'm using the original trilogy as kind of like a blueprint in quality. Let's see if the quality of this even keeps up slightly with any of the movies in the first trilogy. The only movie in the first trilogy that I can think of that relied on a MacGuffin so badly was A New Hope, Episode 4. And the fact that they have relied on that MacGuffin turned into such a big thing that they used entire movies to explain why that MacGuffin existed, because it was such a big MacGuffin in that way. And then immediately, as soon as they got past that, episodes 5 and 6, what were the MacGuffins in those movies? There weren't, because they were based off of character drama and the story had a natural flow. I would be embarrassed if you're the 3rd movie in a trilogy or the 9th movie in a saga and you're relying on cheap storytelling tricks like basic fucking MacGuffins to get
You
to
have
get your
not
characters
stated
from point A
yet
to
what
point
this
B.
MacGuffin is that you're.
Oh, I can
The
state a few.
Wayfinder. Yeah, the Wayfinder right away.
But that's not
The
even.
McWayfinder? I'm sorry, the Way MacGuffin? Whatever you want to call it. The Sith MacGuffin?
McDonald's sausage McMuffin.
The thing that they're looking for the first half of the movie, and then the MacGuffin switches, and now it becomes the dagger. Then the MacGuffin switches and becomes the location. Or, it's always an item. It's always a special magical item. That's basically the basic definition of a MacGuffin.
They are bouncing around the galaxy aimlessly looking for different items until they hit a climax and they have to fight the boss level. That is all they are doing. They send them to 3 different planets looking for them. And you know what happens when they find the item and they get the map? Someone else already has the map. They're rich with maps. It doesn't even matter if they had the map. They got a bunch of them now. As soon as she's uploading it and sending it to the rest of the people, I can't even. I'm so annoyed. Kelly is correct.
I'm just saying that the groundwork laid by the last two movies gave you enough rich story that you could have made the whole 9th episode without using MacGuffins of any kind. The groundwork was already laid for you to do some really amazing narrative storytelling. But no, they decided to just let's boil it down to MacGuffins and let's get the characters interacting with each other in these really cool environments. It felt like the kind of movie where they had images in their mind and they worked backwards from the images. But anyways, my point is that the MacGuffin is immediately, like the Star Wars 9, The Rise of MacGuffins, no surprise, within 10 minutes we already have the MacGuffin established and everybody's already looking for the MacGuffin. So, anything to say about that, sir?
Keith?
No, not really, because that is a fair point. There is an element that is used to propel the story. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So my next point.
I have
Your Honor, if you'd like to speak, go ahead. Don't let me stand in your way. It's your court.
I'll come back to it. If it doesn't come up, I'll just do it all at the end, and Keith will have to deal with it. Continue.
All right. So my 6th point. The ships rising out of the ground.
I'm sorry. It's trash.
Another name that I would call this movie is Star Wars 9, The Rise of Copy and Paste. There was so much fucking copy and paste with special effects in this movie. It was mind-numbing. It was so boring. First off, seeing those ships rise out of the ground, part of me is going, so you're inside your little tower, and you're trying to make a point to somebody that is inside, and they can't see outside, which we'll get into the fact that his fucking senses, his force sense is horrible this entire movie, except for Rey anyways. So he can't really tell what's going on outside, and he's just like, "Rrr!" And outside, thousands of ships rise out from the ground. This huge dramatic effect. For what reason? Like, okay, if he was worried that people might notice the ships if they're floating above the air, blah, 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 blah. They can't find the planet. So the ships flying in the air, even when everybody knows about the fleet, they can't find the planet. So the ships being in the air would have made no difference strategically, apparently. And the ships being underground were only there for dramatic effect for an audience of 0. The only reason why we got to see it is because we're the camera of God. We're the audience. So we can see what's happening. Nobody else can fucking see it. So, okay, so we're supposed to believe that not only is there a whole race of people on this planet, there's millions and millions of people that we don't know anything about their society or culture or anything like that. The only thing they do is just to serve this one thing of building all these thousands of ships. Oh my God, like, I cannot express to you the amount of cringe that I felt seeing hundreds of Star Destroyers that, of course, they're not just even normal Star Destroyers, they're super Star Destroyers. They each have a Death Star attached to them. You know, like, come on. That was so cringe. All the lights are on. They're all lit up. They're ready to go. They're apparently crewed and ready.
If you're going to complain about a movie showing you things that the characters can't see, what are we doing here? Because you just described every single movie. That is
reductionist, and sir, you're more intelligent than you're giving yourself credit. If you think that that's the argument I just made, then I would ask you to reread the court order.
I had this in my notes as well. Why do we have all these Star Destroyers that we have seen? They were destroyed, they're underground because they were destroyed, all the people are dead. How are they just resurrected, fully crewed and completely intact, and nothing is wrong with them?
No, they weren't destroyed. That was the new fleet that was built on Exegol by the
they're all brand new.
Okay.
They're all brand new super Star Destroyers that have super weapons.
New.
Yeah.
Well, they're not brand new. They're it's been going on for 30 years. This fleet has been being amassed.
Yeah, so over the last 30 years, basically, the Emperor, as soon as he died, immediately came here, got his millions and millions of people that live on this planet to immediately start working on all these thousands of Star Destroyers so that he could, in a dramatic moment, lift them out of the ground to impress nobody, even though there's no strategic value in building them underground and covering them up with dirt afterwards. What the fuck are you thinking? Like, come on.
So I'll add another point to that.
That is not any kind
which
of...
I don't know was also on
Poor Keith. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Because we haven't quite come to it yet. They give them 16 hours. These ships rise out of the ground. They're given 16 hours, and then they're going to attack. It's go time. You got 16 hours to figure your shit out and try to defend the universe and the galaxies and all the things. Yet, they are still strategically just sending them out to fucking kill and destroy things left and right, knowing they are leading back to them. That it was all secret and no one knew where it was. But as soon as they get sent out, they can track them. They have the map and the location. They know how to do it. Why if you can send them out to do these things, why are you waiting 16 hours? What is the point of waiting 16 hours?
Because,
if you can just go
well, that's point like 62, is that the entire war is pointless. Spoiler, the entire massing of ships on both sides is pointless because everything all just comes down to the one noble woman and the noble man fighting in the castle at the end of the story. That's really what the story comes down to. All the rest is just set dressing. Everything that Poe goes through with like trying to become a better general, everything Leia's sacrifice, none of that fucking matters as far as the war goes. Because the war is immaterial. That is a secondary. That's not even a secondary plot. That is a forgotten plot in this entire movie. Because it doesn't matter. Even Palpatine says at the end, the reason why I've done all this is to bring you here. That's all. That's all he did. So those ships are just there for set dressing to get everybody there.
Which I'm going to call bullshit, but we can get into that later.
Yeah, by the way, Keith, we're sorry. We like you. You're a good person. I'm sorry.
I'm not. You brought this on yourself.
It feels like it really feels like you're taking the most minor points and blowing them up into huge, giant issues. And
It's
I don't
weird
know.
that you're able
I
to
don't
look
know how
past
to.
these. Like, these don't trigger anything in your mind?
I don't know how to respond to that.
You don't feel insulted
This
watching
is
this?
so funny to me because these are things you would nitpick in any other movie.
Yeah.
But because it's Star Wars and because you're a little fanboy, no offense, you fanboy out. I'm happy you enjoy something, but you are overlooking so many things just because it's Star Wars, which is exactly what they wanted you to do. This whole movie is a nostalgia-baited piece of trash.
It's insulting. As a Star Wars fan, it feels insulting to watch it.
They had so many things, and it's not even down to, oh, well, they mishandled the characters. They did. They mishandled their material. They did. It was rushed. It was a huge mess. They mishandled the music. They used motifs in places that did not make sense. They made motifs that Luke and Leia's motif and their connection and their memory, and they have one conversation with this instrumental played in the background. And it's rarely used. The next time we hear that music used is when they have their last conversation. You want to know when we hear it again? When Lando's talking to his daughter. They just take the things that meant so much and made them mean nothing because, well, it's nostalgic.
Yeah, it sounds like family thing. It sounds like it's a loving theme. So we're going to use that here, completely disregarding. Like, no, that's Leia's theme. That's literally Leia's theme. It was called the love theme from the first movie.
Yeah, like so many things.
So if you're going to take the theme from the first movie as the motif from that, so is Lando falling in love with this woman that's his daughter?
No,
like, you know?
It's not a love theme. It is a sentimental. It is Luke and Leia when they have a conversation about their past and their backstory. I don't even remember what it's called, but it's like the melody from Luke's theme and something else from hers, and they combine them and it becomes its own thing. They use it again when they have their last conversation, and then they just start throwing it in there at random points. Like I said, Lando and his daughter.
I would argue it's not random. It's to display that there is possibly a familial connection here.
Yeah, and that's stupid. Sorry, don't take something that means that much in the whole franchise and just go, oh, well, it's a family connection. Give them their own fucking thing. It's hinted at that's giving an excuse. That is giving an excuse to make it mean something because it's not even like known. It's not canon that's Lando and his daughter. It's not canon until after and they publish a book and they're like, actually, that's his daughter. No shit. Everybody is apparently somebody. Nobody can be nobody. Rey's whole storyline of, oh, she's nobody and she can be powerful and that's just how the universe works. And this was actually
we'll get to
that's
that,
why.
Definitely.
That's all.
That's one of the biggest things of this movie.
Not special.
That's one of the reasons why this movie failed so hard. Even just if you try to look past all the bullshit, is that Rey was completely ruined too by becoming a Palpatine, by becoming anybody, by attaching her to any name at all.
Oh, they were all ruined.
The last line in this movie, sorry to skip ahead to point 80 or whatever the fuck it is, but the last line in this movie should have been when she says, Rey who? She should have looked around and maybe saw Leia and Luke and looked back and said, just Rey. That would have been a fucking great ending to this kind of movie. Because even though she's thrown all these names, you can be a Skywalker, you can be a Palpatine. And that connects it with the end of the last movie where we saw the little boy that's a slave that's nobody doing the Force. It doesn't matter what your last name. That was supposed to be the whole fucking point of this trilogy, and they ruined it.
That point is still there. It doesn't matter what your heritage is and what your chosen family is.
It's not.
With rose-colored glasses on, all the red flags just look like flags to you, my friend.
Hey, we'll come back to it.
The literal point. Hang on. The literal point of the movie is that you are not beholden to what you come from, and that you choose your own family. It's not pointless.
If she chose
There's a point.
Okay, sure, whatever. But that point is
We'll come
watered
back
down
to it.
compared to the point
Anyways.
that was actually made better in the last movie. And a point that you have admitted
So
off
wait.
camera again that you agree with. You like The Last Jedi. You like the way Rian Johnson was taking the story. So don't try to.
I do.
We're coming
yeah.
back to it. So put a pin in it. Question though. Why did he make more Snokes? If it's dead, he's revealed, he controlled them. Why are they just floating around in tape?
It's the copy and paste movie. I'm telling you, Katie. Their CGI department was overworked. They copied and pasted as much as they could to fix
There
the
is an
story.
in-lore answer for this. I can clear up confusion if you want.
Yeah, copy and paste.
There is a problem with cloning force-sensitive people, and that when a force-sensitive entity is controlling someone that is not naturally force-sensitive, or if a force-sensitive is cloned, they deteriorate rapidly and do not live very long.
So why are they just floating around in tanks?
You know, in case you needed another Snoke. There may have been many Snokes, not just the one. There might not have just been one that we saw between two movies.
Yeah.
I mean,
But this,
there's so much copy and paste, though. Come on. Like, it's a pattern. You eventually see it after a while with this movie. The TIE fighters, the very next scene we get to, that's ironically my next point, is the TIE fighters are more copy and paste. This is, again, would this TIE fighter scene with a bunch of TIE fighters that just appear like that, would that make the movie bad? No, there is some of that in Return of the Jedi when the Millennium Falcon is flying towards the Death Star, and all of a sudden this like snowstorm of TIE fighters come at him.
Sir, more than one TIE fighter appears in every Star Wars movie. What are you talking about?
But there's a difference. There is a difference. This movie has a feel of copy and paste everywhere. I have this theory that with the old movies, it felt like the practical models went a lot further than it felt like they put a lot more CGI in this movie. I can't phrase this any other way than the copy and paste is real so much in this movie. The Star Destroyers, the TIE fighters, the ships at the end, everything felt like somebody just clicked and dragged Control-C, Control-V, V. That's what it felt like. And this is the first time it happened.
but I mean,
Every one of those ships that
Or
shows
second
up
time.
at the end is an individual ship. I'll have you know that was something that was worked on.
At least with the Rebel fleet at the end, or whatever you call them, the people, at least they use different ships. But that's a different story altogether, because that was when the movie turned into Deus Ex Machina versus Deus Ex Machina versus Deus Ex Machina versus Deus Ex Machina, which is a completely different part of the story. So we'll get there. Don't worry. You'll have to defend the fact that everybody just keeps whipping out a bigger dick until the good guys win. And that's, you know.
You've seen Return of the Jedi, right?
Yeah, where they win by being merciful, and they have
Well,
the lower
were
they
they-
have the lower battle. They don't have the big fleet that shows up to save them. What saves them is mercy in the end, even though they were losing on the board.
Well, what saves the rebellion? Not
Oh, well,
Luke,
see, you're
but,
confusing this. That in Return of the Jedi, the fleet battle actually mattered. We were told in Rise of Skywalker that the fleet doesn't matter. The battle actually doesn't matter at all. So, like, honestly, does that even matter whether the fleet is there? It became, again, the Deus Ex Machina versus Deus Ex Machina, but none of it mattered because the Emperor says straight up, I don't care about any of that. That's all. The whole point of doing this is to get you here so that I can put myself in your body.
What?
Which, again, a movie made for kids, that the whole final thing is just for an old man to put himself in a young woman. There you go. Have fun with that.
What are the words you're saying that he says that you're getting that from?
I can't remember the exact line right this moment. I can.
it's something along the lines of "Go ahead, do it, kill me, and then I will my life force or whatever I flow into you."
Right, but he's talking about saying that all this battle and stuff doesn't matter. I don't know where he's getting that from.
It's when Rey and Palpatine are arguing for the first time, and she's saying something about my friends will be here, blah blah blah, and I forget what she even says to lead up to it, but he says something along the lines of, none of that matters. The entire reason why did I? And she says something like, why do you blah 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 blah, and he goes, why do you think I did this? To bring you here. You're the entire reason why this exists. I need you, blah, 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 blah. And then he starts telling her about it. So it's probably right before when he tells her about the fact that he's going to enter her body soon.
So I do have a counter for that. This is one, that's Palpatine being manipulative. Two, he changes his plans several times in this movie, as he always does, because he has backup upon backup.
But for
upon
30 years,
backup.
he didn't. So he's the kind of guy where he can keep the same plan for 30 years without altering it at all. But as soon as he comes in contact with the movie armor, then he has to change his plan. Okay, sure. It's possible. It's possible that a movie can be good.
We don't know that it wasn't altered in 30 years.
It's possible that a movie can be good and follow those rules. I guess the jury will have to decide that.
I just want to say that you're saying that on the TIE Fighter thing, because I thought that was ridiculous. You're saying that because it has more than one TIE Fighter, that's evidence that it has a bad movie.
No, okay, so I was going to say the practical effect versus the CGI. The difference is that with the CGI ones, they all look exactly the fucking same, and they all have exactly. I don't know how to put my finger on it exactly, but it's one of those where you know it when you see it. With the practical models, I think it was the practical models. The fact that each practical model, due to the fact that it's made with hands of a human being, they're slightly different, and the light glints off of them a little bit different. Whereas in the movie, they look so fucking perfect that the fact that you have 30 of them in a row, now it becomes very evident that it was copy and paste. If they took 30 handmade TIE fighters and hung them in a room and put the camera through them, I might say that that's shitty special effects, but I wouldn't be saying copy and paste. Now, I don't know how our brains pick up on the fact that things are being copied and pasted, but that's what it felt like.
But there were CGI in The Force Awakens, and there were CGI in The Last Jedi too.
Yep,
Why wasn't it a problem for you?
The problem was...
I'll give you a different spin on this, because I also take issue with this scene because it is where they start misleading us with the music. It's where they start trying to pull the nostalgia strings and make you think a certain thing. What theme plays when they jump and it looks like they could have been destroyed? Do you know what theme plays?
It should be the dun 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 dun. That should be the theme that's playing, but I don't remember what's playing.
Keith?
No, that's you'll have to enlighten us, Your Honor.
When the Death Star is destroyed. So when this major thing is destroyed and you're just like in complete awe and shock and oh my god, that's the theme they play when they jump. It's immediately misleading you into going, you know this scene, do you recognize this? Do you know why it's important? Because something went boom and it was crazy and it was huge and it was amazing. Do you think that happened to them? Just kidding, it didn't.
Really? They played the Death Star explosion scene
happened.
when they're just flying through, when they're being chased by TIE fighters? It's related to space, so I'll give them that much credit. At least they put a leitmotif with something involving space.
This is the first time they start misleading you with the music, and they do it continuously to sit there and try to pull at your heartstrings and play the nostalgia card. And it's not Williams, because Williams is better than that. It is definitely editors and other things, and I could back that up with arguments, but I don't really want to because I have a lot of other things to argue, especially when it comes to the music. But that is the very first one, and it's not to say that they don't use the music in great ways. There's moments where they have Finn, and he's got his Force-sensitive theme. It's the Force theme. There's a whole theme that plays every time he has some connection to, he's Force sensitive, he's sensing something, he's doing something. That's great. Kylo and Rey have a connection theme. Great. It plays into, they have a connection, they're special, there's a reason they're going back and forth with each other. But it just continues to hijack the emotional weight of moments from past films without earning it.
Which specific part are you talking about that uses that?
When I have to go back, but the moment Kelly is talking about right now, where they go to jump, that's the theme that plays. I'm not pulling this movie.
It's at the very end when they jump. They do the and it's a little different, and it's like I don't know. I guess I can see. I don't think it's exactly the same because the Death Star is like dun 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 dun. It doesn't do that same thing. I would argue that you are just misinterpreting John Williams.
Okay, so I thought it was kind of culturally known that when this movie was coming out or when it was in production or whatever, that they were rewriting major things. They were throwing things together very quickly because they were trying to release it within a year, and they were really up against the clock. So, like, there are several times in this movie where things look out of place or things aren't the way they should be. Like one scene where I'll get to it where Finn says no, and the no he says has nothing to do with the scene in front of him. It's filmed for a different purpose. The editor threw it in here because Finn has to say something here. When Chewie dies, Finn goes, No! Like somebody just spilled fucking wine on his carpet or something like that, and somebody dies. Little shit like that where it makes you look and go, they put this together at the very end.
That's pure conjecture.
No, I'm asking the question to the court. Like, I'm asking both of you. Don't you remember something going on at the time where the pop culture, we were all talking about the fact that Star Wars Rise of Skywalker was really under the clock, and they were trying to rewrite things, and there was this big question of, are they going to pull it off or are they not? And everybody was like, oh, it looks like they did pull it off.
Yes.
Well,
that's because of Carrie Fisher passing away. They had to kind of
and J.J. Abrams taking the reins and redeveloping the story. Can you not admit that there was a shift in the story from episode 7 and 8 to 9?
Don't put that on Carrie Fisher's head.
Well, yes, because
that is one of my points. Is that I'm sorry, I don't care. I don't know if you read it, if you've heard anything of it, if you paid attention to it at all. But let me find it because I have it written down. Duel of the Fates. I would take that movie 9 times out of 10.
I read the script of that movie and I thought it sucked.
Imagine reading the script for this one.
Yeah, but think about it. That was the first draft of that script. That was the first draft, and it had character development. It had people doing things. Rose didn't disappear. Finn didn't get sidelined into almost absolutely nothing.
That's one of my
tokenized.
points, yeah.
Rey is treated better, and she's got way cool. She's got a double-sided blue lightsaber. She uses that lightsaber.
It makes sense
she gets
for
her ass kicked. She becomes blind at one point. Like she does. There's so much character development and growth. I mean, yeah, there's romance and some other shitty parts in there, but yet again, first draft, and I would pick it out of this.
It's also a cornballish name for the movie, and I don't know. The end feels more nostalgia bait than anything in this movie, where they go back to Coruscant and have a big sky battle over that. That just sounds, not that this movie doesn't rehash stuff, but I don't know. I didn't like.
But the whole point of them going back is that it had a connection for Finn. It had a connection for the characters in the movie. It made it far more epic of a finale than this. This movie, the whole ending is just a replay of the last part.
Objection on the grounds that we're not debating the validity of the other movie. With all respect, Your Honor, I think we would better be you spending our time taking down this movie.
I was, but okay. Continue.
This is my 10th
Is this going to be another made-up fake point like your last one, or does this one actually have merit?
Objection,
Order in
please.
the court. I'm going to need you to let him finish so we can move fast.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is where we hear the voices of, we're hearing the actors from the earlier movies, we're hearing it in somebody's head, but I remember thinking, wow, this is actually, okay, now this movie is starting to draw me in. And then I had a private chuckle because I was thinking, wow, so the best parts of this movie so far are the parts that they just straight up stole from the other movies. So far, the best things they've done are the things that other people that came before them did, and they just copied and pasted it. They copied and pasted it.
I have no idea what part you're talking about where they're playing clips from other movies.
I believe it's Kylo when he is with Vader's mask.
Sure, yeah, that sounds about right. Sure,
is it that one?
It's the first time that you're hearing narration. I don't have a copy of the movie to scrub while I'm doing this.
I'm not sure. I don't.
Well, you are familiar with it at times in this movie that the previous movie was quoted over the script, right? Are you familiar with that phenomenon in the movie?
No, maybe.
No, I did not notice that.
Let the jury be aware that Keith is not even aware that any time in this movie that the previous quotes from other movies were just laid over the sound. Kelly, as a final edit, will add it here.
Join me. You killed him.
It does not happen there. I'm not sure exactly where you're talking about. I feel like that could be a thing, but can I cite a specific point and time signature? I cannot.
Yeah.
So.
I'll show it in the edit, and we'll.
That doesn't help your argument against the people who cannot hear it. So put a pin in it and come back to it.
But everybody else will be hearing it, so it's okay. It's all right. All right. So the next point.
That doesn't help with your argument with the people of which you are talking to.
No, that's
right
fine.
now.
I'm not here to convince neither you or Keith in this situation. I'm here to convince the jury. So.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
So the next point I have is point number 13. Somehow Palpatine returned. Even the actor knew that this line was bad. Like, the memes that have developed from this line is wonderful because you look at the look on his face and he's like...
Mean.
somehow Palpatine returned. And I'm like, everybody in the audience was thinking the same thing. The movie that I went to, full disclosure, ladies and gentlemen of the jury and our non-binary friends, when I went to see this in the theater, we openly laughed at the movie. It was a unique viewing experience, and it turned this movie into an awesome in-person experience because the entire audience was laughing and mocking this movie as it went. I don't feel like it was the intention going in, but we were all shell-shocked and went in that direction at the same time. And this is one of those moments where he goes, somehow Palpatine returned. Everybody just started laughing in the audience, and with good reason. It made me think of Game of Thrones with the actors in season 8 and their meme reactions to the material that they had to be a part of. And as a side point, completely not a point for this, there's a lot of similarity between Game of Thrones season 8 and Rise of Skywalker, isn't there? I yield the floor.
It's not the best line, but I don't know. It's a meme. You know, it became a meme. It became something that was repeated over and over, and like became associated with funny and laughing. And I have used the meme. We've all used the meme.
I haven't used the meme. Don't put that on there.
I don't know. That's whatever. That's one of the sloppy things that shows through in this movie.
He's saying what we all felt. He's saying what we all felt. For once,
Stop.
the actors, I'm agreeing with the actors.
You gotta listen to the judge. That means it. We're done. It's stupid and it's dumb. He admits it. Your point has been proven. Continue.
All right. Next thing this is more of an abstract point, and this goes into like the overall narrative of Star Wars and how this movie kind of subverts it, and not subverting it.
It's probably like there was you assumed real plants for fake plants or something in the background. Let's hear it.
No, my point is that they are building up Palpatine, like all these different combats with the fleet and everything. A lot of this stuff, none of it matters because they need to find Palpatine. And even like when they're talking about, like you could say that Poe, Chewie, Finn, Rey, they could all go on ships and fight in battles, kind of like the Clone Wars and Anakin and Obi-Wan and all that stuff. And they could really turn the tide of a war. But that's not important because they got to kill Palpatine. And what this reminded me of is Sauron from Lord of the Rings. And it made me think that what they've kind of done is they've turned the Star Wars universe into, like, with the original trilogy, it was, you had the big bad guy at the top, but it was more the fascist system and the dictator at the top of the fascist system. It was a combo effect. And whereas with this one, it felt like we've just got to cut the snake off, or the head off the top of the snake, because that doesn't, the extra stuff doesn't really matter. So what it felt like is we have the one true evil, which kind of goes against where I've seen Star Wars is about the battle within oneself, the battle of good versus evil within each person, blah, 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 blah. Whereas in this one, it basically kind of makes the argument that there are good people and there are bad people, and the good people got to kill the bad people, and that's where the good people win when the bad people die. And it felt very, I don't know, it felt like they took away the essence of what I enjoyed about Star Wars in a couple ways. One of them was adding the name, and you have to be from a certain family to really matter. And the other way was the way that the one big evil that we all need to worry about is Palpatine. Once Palpatine is dead, then the universe is totally fine and everything's fine. There's no hint of evil anywhere once Palpatine is gone. And that's
that's exactly the same as the ending of Return of the Jedi, point-wise, what you're making. And you said that's one of your favorite films.
I'm going to need more than that. Not everyone knows Kelly's opinion on this, so elaborate or he wins his way.
Well, at the end of Return of the Jedi, they destroy Palpatine and his second Death Star, copy-paste. Just want to throw that out there. Not that movie's
that's not a great.
That's
not a pro for Return of the Jedi. You realize, like, that is a negative for Return of the Jedi.
We're not talking about Return of the Jedi. It doesn't matter.
I'm just pointing out that is, you've stated your favorite one. Palpatine is dead, and yay, the galaxy is saved, the universe is perfect, and we're all fucking shooting fireworks and having an Ewok party because the one big evil bad guy is dead. I don't know that that's an issue for me.
So, okay, the original trilogy was kind of simplistic about taking out the bad guy versus, blah, 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 blah. Whereas now we went to the prequel trilogy, and it was all about how a man or a person can go from being a wonderful child to this dark, evil thing by allowing certain elements to seep into your life and blah, 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 blah. Then we get Clone Wars, which deals with a lot of other stuff that I can't really speak on because I have only seen a handful of episodes. And then we got this trilogy, which was for the new era, and we started delving into, do the Jedi need to exist anymore? they're really dogmatic and their rules are really restrictive. And what's the point in caring for all the good people if you don't actually feel love yourself? Can you really fully be a good person if you don't really embrace love and community and let things matter to you, which is against the Jedi Code? And then it's like, once we're right at the precipice of asking this fucking question, we go, just kidding, lol, kill the Emperor, and boom, boom, boom,
sorry,
yay. And that felt really
that
fucking
was
stupid.
resolved at the end of The Last Jedi when Luke takes up the mantle again and says, yes, the Jedi do matter, and yes, I am stepping up against this great force of evil.
But
That
Luke's
movie
dead. Luke's
itself
opinion doesn't matter
answers-
on that. Rey's opinion is the only one that's supposed to matter on this. And Rey comes back and she decides that she wants to be a Jedi. And then Luke comes back and basically says, hey, by the way, fuck Ryan Johnson and fuck everything we did in the last movie.
The last line of The Last Jedi is what? Do you remember?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
We have everything we need, which is the ancient Jedi text and a lightsaber.
Was that supposed to be like a mic drop moment? Because it's not.
Yeah, it's
No,
not-
this is it's just I'm saying that this was resolved in the movie that you profess is so much better. Yeah, we questioned it and we went into some gray area, but we're fully back by the time credits roll on The Last Jedi that yes, the Jedi matter, they are important.
Yeah,
and,
I see. I
is-
took a different message that, yes, the Jedi Code matters, but it doesn't matter so much that we're going to follow it dogmatically and treat it like fucking gospel. We're going to treat it from an anthropological and a philosophical point of view that some of these points we're going to agree with, and some of these points we're going to be like cafeteria Catholics with the Jedi Code. And that's where Rey landed, I felt like. And then she comes back the very next movie and starts basically acting like Luke from Return of the Jedi, saying, I'm a Jedi like my father before me, even though she didn't go through the fucking training.
She's been training for a year with Leia. What are you talking
Where did
about?
Leia? Like, Leia trained for a very brief period with Luke and then quit. None of these people are fucking Jedi masters. So, like, whatever.
you have no idea how long Leia trained.
She quit.
with
They
Luke.
showed it in the flashback that during her training, when Luke was pushing her to try harder to become better, she
Right.
decided to quit. So no, she's not in a place where
was
she can
10
be
which
treated
was-
like she can train other people.
Which was 10 years after Return of the
So you're-
Jedi.
whatever.
It's the
This is
moment
all.
when
This
she
is all
quits.
minuscule. This is all minutia.
I'm just saying. I don't think it's even reputed that your point. Like we don't see Rey is not like a dogmatic Jedi or anything.
No,
Like,
okay.
she's
I'll
not
rephrase it.
established an order.
My problem with Rey's Jedi prowess, her powers, how powerful she is. They make her the fucking end-all, be-all, powerful person in this movie, in this series. It negates things they did in the past two movies. It negates things that have happened in the previous movies. To the point that
Examples.
I'm
please.
getting there. Cut the Jar Jar again and see what happens. Your argument will be over in your movies in the
You're
trash
getting
bin.
negative points. So your score is like negative 17 right now. I might only have 5, but I'm doing better than negative.
So they make her the end all be all, most powerful, the best pilot, the best everything. I'm sorry, Poe was a fucking exceptional pilot. He's literally known to be amazing. That was his thing. He's one of the best in the fucking galaxy. And they come back and they're like, oh, well, Rey wasn't there, so I guess we could have done better, but too bad she wasn't there. Since when is she a great fucking pilot? She's not. Like, you just negated the fact, your whole storyline for him is that he is an amazing pilot, and he's amazing and wonderful and the
Your
best.
Honor,
And
Your Honor, may I say that he does not say she was a great pilot. He says you're the best fighter we have.
the best fighter only uses her lightsaber against Kylo and in one other fight. She doesn't kill a stormtrooper. She doesn't do anything else with that fucking lightsaber. She barely gets injured. She gets a scratch on her fucking shoulder. How does that make her the best fighter? The only time she wins a fight is when someone comes in and distracts Kylo Ren, or when he is distracted himself by his own internal conflict. That's when she wins.
Well, and not to draw the ire of Your Honor, so forgive me when I say this, but I do believe that in previous movies, I hate admitting something to the defense here, but I feel like it's in intellectual honesty, I have to say, that Rey was established as a good pilot. So good, in fact, that her piloting is what won Chewie over to her, and Chewie was so impressed by her piloting skills that's part of why he started to like her. Her being a good pilot is good. Poe is still the best. Poe is supposed to be still the best.
That is my issue with the character, is that they literally take everyone else's traits and turn them into meaningless nothingness because she is a special golden child. She's the Harry Potter in the universe, even though really it's Neville.
I don't see how
She doesn't need to be special, all-powerful.
It should have been Finn. Yes, I'm kind of with you in the sense that it should have been Finn. If it should have been Neville, it should have been Finn. This movie should have been a lot more about Finn, and I'm sorry, but that gets two of my points. It's later coming, but we can talk about it now if you want to. But Finn got fucked in this movie big time.
People wanted more Poe. Fine, what happens
We
if
needed
you're
more-
going
we
to get
needed
more
a
of another
romance.
character?
We needed
They
a whole
cut out
fucking
another
romance.
one. The fact that they cut him out, like they cut. Oh.
We needed a whole romance subplot between Finn and Poe.
Keith, rebuttal. Go ahead and jump in before I continue because I have a point with Finn and I want to get to that. So.
I don't understand how you're saying that the Poe's achievements and stuff is diminished in any way. I don't see that or get a sense of that at all. He's still shown being an extremely capable pilot throughout all of this, to the point where he's doing dangerous light speed skips. That they even make a point where Chewie yells, and he's like, "Well, Rey isn't here, is she?" And then that's when he does the light speed skips. Like, he's taking risks. He's still being his hot-headed character, and he's still a fantastic pilot. I don't get a sense that that's diminished in any way.
Keith, I'm inclined to agree with you on this. However, the problem that I'm having in my mind is that I would agree with you if I could think of a moment where his dogfighting skills were really on display. And I'm not going to sit here and say that they weren't, because the action scenes in this movie did not draw me in enough, where a lot of the dogfighting scenes I really didn't care as much about. Like, I don't know what. Maybe it's because I'm older. Maybe the movies are different. But when I watched Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, those combat scenes in space, even A New Hope, all of them, all the movies, every time I've watched one, I've enjoyed the space battle scenes. In Rise of Skywalker, maybe it's because by the time we get there, I've completely tuned out and lost all respect for the movie. I mean, remember, I'm in a theater with everybody mocking and laughing, and we're all making jokes at it together as a group. It was a completely different experience, so I didn't care when
My next argument is that you don't need to see it. He's an established character. We already know that much.
He's
about
an
him.
established character, yes, but the fact that they get out of this...
Why wouldn't we show it? That's like having Bruce Lee in a movie and not having fight scenes. Why would you do
my
that?
point
Like,
is more that these people are all established characters. They're supposed to be friends, which I don't know how the fuck they're supposed to have this amazing friendship and relationship. They just met at the end of the other movie. So the fact that her and Poe are all like, "Oh, we got this friendship. We're buddy buddy."
It's been a year.
No, you're not.
The movie.
You've been training. He's been doing things. Yes, but she's been training, as they say. As soon as they get off on that planet and they're arguing with each other, she's not fighting with them. She's not there, but she's going to nitpick at him for his decisions and the things they've been doing. But she's been stuck on this planet and she's been training while they're doing other shit.
yeah, you make a good point that I could see them being friends, but not that good of
To
friends.
sit there and say we built up any relationship where we're having no.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying,
You didn't
Katie.
build that.
I was inclined to
That was
disagree
not
with you, but
built.
I can see that if he was away at war and she was away at training, then they would have limited interactions. And even if they had the positive of like, "Hey, this is my friend,
Guys,
so we share a mutual
it's been
friend,"
a year.
whatever.
There's a year of time to account for.
Yeah, have you ever had a friend go away to basic training?
A year of time where she has been training in one spot while they have been off doing all kinds of other shit.
You know that for a fact that Poe was away from the base for the entire
That's what they
year.
tell us
They
in the
have
movie.
shown
well,
it.
They tell. They basically imply that he's always away and they never really see each other. The whole fact that they're having that disagreement kind of implies what Katie is saying.
I'd say
And so
that-
so does the explicit narrative. She says that she's training. He says that he's away at war. They don't say that. Well, you remember that time that we hung out on break? The only reason why we're led to believe that there is a relationship there is because of the banter itself. So, I mean, I could see both sides, but I guess if I were to have to decide one way or the other, if I were the judge in this moment, I would probably take Katie's side.
I'd say
Like, yeah,
you're
but-
making wild assumptions about the time that's been spent that we don't see. On
And
screen.
so are you.
no, I'm not.
But none of it is
Yeah.
explicitly
Yeah,
stated.
you are.
In a better story, that should have been clear. Well, I think we can all, I mean, maybe not all of us, but it seems pretty clear to me that even if there is this misunderstanding, that means that the text wasn't clear, or at least the body language wasn't clear. It wasn't shown enough. We were not shown enough, nor told enough.
You weren't-
To make,
you
if
weren't-
both Katie and I are both on the same side going, I don't know, I can see why it's been a year, so they are familiar with each other,
Yeah,
but
you-
not familiar enough where they're nitpicking everything the other person does. Those are like fighting words. Like, fuck you, dude. Who the fuck are you? You don't even know me. Fuck off.
So,
you know, like,
so you weren't. You're telling me that you weren't shown enough that the three main cast members of the franchise that you're watching, who are you weren't shown enough to know that they're friends.
No, that I know. What Katie is arguing is that they are not good enough friends to be that critical of each other. That
shown
openly.
enough. Yes, there is no backstory. There is no built-in, already existing relationship between her and Finn. If that had been her and Finn, that would have been completely different things. To sit there,
We didn't
also
see
to say
enough
that
good
the
to negate
three
the bad.
main characters in this movie. No, there is one main character. Finn gets absolutely shit.
Yeah, he's not a main character.
He gets nothing in this movie. They took all the potential and all the excitement of the minorities and people of color for characters in these films and went, fuck you, they don't matter.
Yeah.
You know what Finn cares about in this movie? The only thing he does is run after Rey and follow around this little white girl.
Ray!
This is
That's literally all he does.
That's fine, and you know what? That's another point that I am willing to concede is that Finn's character got shafted in this movie, but that's not the point that we're talking about. And so I'm going to argue that Luke Skywalker is so invested in his friends in Empire Strikes Back that he's willing to abandon his Jedi training.
Nope, does not matter. We're not talking about that movie. We're not talking about Luke Skywalker.
I'm just
that argument is moot. It doesn't matter.
I'm not talking about
like a
that
cow's
movie.
opinion.
I'm talking about the fact that you're saying that it's bad that people who just met and had an adventure together, and like in The Force Awakens.
No, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's poorly written and contrived. That is a very poor way.
If I can dispense just what I would consider a little bit of procedural wisdom in this, I think the points have been made on both sides. I see a little bit of merit on both sides. Really,
because I didn't even get to finish saying what I was saying. I was cut off.
No, I thought you framed it pretty well, and I get what you're saying. I could see that. It wasn't as big of a point for me. It's not something I wrote down, but once Katie explained it, I'm like, okay, I could see where I could get stuck in that, and because it's not explicitly told you, and we don't see enough. Basically, we're seeing so much critical that it doesn't balance out. We're supposed to take for granted that they like each other, but we don't see enough positive interaction between them to really make us feel that. So all we see is them being kind of shitty towards each other, and I could see that reading of it. So yeah, so I think for procedural reasons, maybe we can move on to the next point.
Yes, we can move on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next point that I have is we get to where everybody finds out about the Sith McWayfinder
Sausage McMuffin.
which I'm sorry, this was just. I don't know. It is, in a sense, it is classic Star Wars holocrons. This is just a holocron, is what it feels like, and I don't know why they don't just make SWTOR canon and say that this is a holocron, because it's a holocron turned on its corner. It's a diamond-shaped holocron, is what it is.
Can I just say, since you mentioned KOTOR, that
SWTOR, but yeah,
yeah, well, same thing, same universe.
yeah, same
or
universe, yeah.
The Exegol temple or whatever with all the giant statues and stuff in it when Kylo Ren is going down. They even have the floating elevators from SWTOR. That is a very SWTOR feeling location. I just wanted to call that out.
All right, let's move along.
I did appreciate that about this movie, that I'm looking around I'm seeing a bunch of SWTOR canon, and I'm like, no, I can't let myself be pulled into this fan service, because I felt so bad for anybody that is a fanboy enough that did get suckered into this. Like I said, I feel like this is an insult to people like you, and I feel so bad. I feel bad for you that you like it almost, because I'm like, they just pandered to you. They just gave you what you fucking wanted, and it's shitty, and you still like it. But,
it's not my favorite, but I do not have any ill will towards this movie.
You should. That's kind of my point. Is that you
fine.
should be mad at this. You should be.
Hey,
all right, we've got no topic. Next
point.
Next point.
They land on a planet that looks completely barren. According to what we can see, there's no indication that we see anything at all. There's no civilization, no people, no buildings, blah, 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 blah. Somehow, the sensors on their ship and the sensors inside their fucking head of the Force users in the ship don't recognize that within a mile, there is a city that has a festival going on with 50,000 plus people, I would estimate, like a really big fucking crowd full with banners and smoke grenades and huge music going off. Okay, super convenience. They could have did a little fade scene where they're walking in the desert for a few hours and they're really, really destitute, and then they come across this or something. Them landing right next door just felt fucking lazy. Sorry, ding, point, because that's just fucking lazy storytelling. When you can add one line of dialogue, you can have Rey say, I feel a group of people, or I sense a bunch of life happening in this direction, or something. I don't know what you say, but you put something, because otherwise they look like fucking morons, not recognizing that within a mile there's Bonnaroo, or there's fucking Burning Man going on, and somehow you weren't fucking perceptive enough to pick that up when you were flying 20,000 feet above, looking down at this land on a sunny fucking day. I'm sorry. Anything to say to that, Kate?
Yeah, man, it ain't that kind of movie, kid. To quote,
Hey, kid, it ain't that kind of movie.
to quote Harrison Ford when Luke was worried about if, hey, my hair should be wet, because in the last scene we were in the garbage compactor. Han Solo said, it ain't that, or Harrison Ford rather said, hey, it ain't that kind of movie, kid. If people are worried about your hair, we're in a lot more trouble.
Okay, well.
So your argument there is, if people are worried about continuity errors,
My argument is that that's
we're not at the level where we should be concerned about minor details.
I just find that to be an incredible nitpick in a Star Wars movie.
So they find this festival going on, and they find this huge line dance, basically, type thing going on, where everybody's doing this dance together, and I'm like, I can totally believe this. From a sociological point of view, this kind of shit would happen in so many different cultures. It's so much fun, and there's so much community in it, and everybody's having a great time. And what do these friends do? They walk right through the middle of the fucking dance floor like they own the fucking place. And I was like, okay, this isn't necessarily a mark that this is a bad movie. This is just a really shitty move by our heroes that's really culturally insensitive. If I saw a dance floor, I would stay on the...
Yeah, I don't see that as mattering all that much.
Whatever. So
this is
18.
This is framing and cinematography, sir. Please move on.
Bad storytelling is what I call that. Or that we should think that our heroes are completely insensitive and inconsiderate.
I'd strike that from the record. The council has even admitted that he does not admit this as a point to being a bad movie, so let's move on.
I did say it is a point to being... I said it's not... doesn't make it a bad movie on its own. Anyways, we come back to Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren, like, ripping the beads off of Rey's chest. I'm sorry, that is a breach of consent. That is a physical assault.
Oh, the villain did something bad that
No.
challenged-
This okay, sure. I will concede this point, but I will ask for 2 points on a later point then. Because what I'm going for here right now is I will concede the point if you will agree that Kylo Ren is physically abusive to Rey.
Of course.
Okay, good. So later on...
I never said I was giving points out. I'm very confused. I'm taking them away. I never said I was giving them out, but we can continue.
Okay, so maybe I'm still at 0, maybe I'm at -5, and Keith's at -20. I'm okay with however we're keeping score, because I think I'm still well in the lead. But, so Kylo, fine. I will concede no point here, except for the fact that Kylo Ren is physically abusive to Rey. So later on in the story, when we have a resolution of their story, that will be a major point as to why this movie is a bad movie. Bad, we'll bad there. For people. Like, I do not recommend children watching this movie. To that point,
it's not for children.
Yes, well, and Star Wars should be. Star Wars should be for children. Star Wars is made for 12-year-olds, and George Lucas has gone on the record several times saying that Star Wars should be made for children.
The idea was simply to do a high-adventure film that I loved when I was a kid with meaningful psychological themes.
I would say yes, had that been what they were trying to do, absolutely. This, as I have already stated, is nostalgia bait. This is not for children. It's not for new fans. It's for people who watch the original trilogy.
Either way, I do not feel comfortable recommending this for children. Kids should not watch this movie.
Let's continue. We'll get to that. Yes.
So this is where we get into so much of the fan service, which you're not going to concede as a point, but I have full faith in the court, the jury, and Your Honor. But I've got a bad feeling about this. As soon as the first person says, I've got a bad feeling about this, I'm like, What I'm reminded of is going and hanging out with nerds where everybody is quoting Monty Python. As soon as somebody says one thing from Holy Grail, the next thing you know, for the next half hour, I'm just hearing a bunch of nerds do the scenes with substandard performance and shitty memory. You know, like, and it's so fucking cringe, and it's one of those moments where I know that somewhere there's a Star Wars nerd that's going, he said the thing, he said the thing, he said the thing, and that's so fucking embarrassing to me. I guess if you all enjoy it, you have at it.
Okay, all right, that is a personal choice and a personal feel of it. I'm going to need more for the nostalgia baiting from you as evidence beyond the fact that you don't like or you're having a bit of a traumatic response to
Your Honor,
and the way
Your Honor
things.
yourself said that part of the reason why you don't like this movie is because it's a big ball of nostalgia bait.
But I also have examples beyond the fact that nerds repeat things and they like.
The series repeats this. The series repeats. I've got a bad feeling about this over and over again.
Yes.
We didn't see it as much in the last two movies because I felt like the last two movies were at least trying to do a little bit different, but it was still a hallmark of the series that happens over and over again. And to be fair, I cringe every time Star Wars does it because it's a little bit like.
My point is there anything? What else do you have to back?
May I have my rebuttal to this?
What do you mean? Like I'm proving my point that it is nostalgia bait. So yes, it is nostalgia bait. And having nostalgia
example, I'm asking you if you have more examples
of nostalgia bait. Yeah, there are other points in the movie.
This is coming from a man. This is coming from a man.
We're going to concede them or put them into kind of one bigger ball because we're already an hour and a half into this. If you don't,
this is coming from a person who gets upset.
If you want to take some time, we can take a break for a minute, and I can.
This is coming from a person who is upset that he saw multiple TIE fighters in this movie. So I don't know.
That's not what I said, sir. And
that's not why he was upset. And to try to break it down,
lying is what you're doing. If you have to lie to misrepresent
I'm going to need you to stop talking over the judge. If that's how you're going to break down the argument and the point that was brought up to you, you were not paying enough attention. I'm going to need you to turn your listening ears on, sir.
Were you also upset when a lightsaber showed up?
That doesn't even make sense to his point. Do you have anything to rebuttal?
If 75 of them showed up on the screen all at once with the same exact color and build, then yes, I would have a problem with that. Anyways, on to my next point. That is where we get to the chase scene. And it cracks me up that Poe, the chase scene where they're on the scooters. They're on the scooters, I think. Okay. And they're on the scooters on the desert planet, I think is what this chase scene
on the chase scene where Poe is shown being a good pilot. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Poe, well, except for in this moment, where if he pulled this shit, he and I would have major words afterwards, is that we are fully in retreat, and we have been in retreat for several minutes implied at this point because we've got stormtroopers behind us. We've even had the whole conversation of, maybe it's before this, so I won't even bring up they can fly, which that's all right. That was a little bit of fun banter, so that was okay. But so now we're implied that these stormtroopers are like going full bore at our heroes, and our heroes are giving it everything they've got. And there's fire exchanging back and forth and yada, yada, yada. And somebody looks at Poe and says, "Poe, hit it!" And Poe pushes the stick forward and starts going faster. And I'm like, what is it with this? Like, do you understand how engines work? Like, if you've got the pedal to the metal, you can't push the pedal extra hard to get your car to go faster. And if, on the other hand, if you were only giving your scooter 75% throttle while we are in an open fucking desert and we're running away from people with superior firepower to be behind me, then I would question why. Excuse me, sir. I'm right in the middle of making a point.
Kind of rambling, but yeah.
I would ask you, why are you only going 75% throttle for a good 2 minutes while people are fucking firing at us? What is wrong with you, Poe? I think it's far more likely shitty storytelling to make a point of going vroom one more time.
I think you might be misinterpreting the point where he actually hits the brakes and does the spin around to sling the stormtrooper into the rocks that has been tethered to them.
Did that happen immediately preceding the event I'm talking about? Can you say that with 100% certainty?
I believe
that happened immediately right before?
That is the...
I don't think so. I think that happened afterwards. I think that after they caught up, that's when people started landing on the ship. I would even concede that this happens before the they can fly now, maybe. But I don't know. But I know that this was after what's implied several shots exchanged back and forth, and then somebody informs Mr. Master Pilot to go ahead and put the throttle down all the way, please. And he does. And somehow we're supposed to go, yeah, good pilot, good job, giving it the whole throttle after a few minutes.
There's confusion about the point and the statement, but post-piloting abilities are very much in question. Move on.
All right. Next point.
I don't know that is a thing that happened, what he's describing.
That's fine. We're moving on.
Made up. That is great.
It looks like the judges call for a recess for today's proceedings. It appears they're going to be reconvening 1 week from today. All further inquiries are told to forward to ssnchill@gmail.com. They're told Ko-Fi.com has a page for Screen Share and Chill, along with Facebook, Discord, and other social media entities. But yes, we look forward to this legal battle finally coming to a close. With all the mud being thrown back and forth, we look to a resolution of hostilities and more civility to follow. But for now, we thank you for joining us. Goodbye.